focus. Ideate, innovate, enable. AU Small Finance Bank presents Gitanjali Express Annual 2023, celebrating India Moment.
Welcome to the annual 2023 of Gitanjali Express, hosted by Gitanjali Express Members Welfare Society in collaboration with CNBC-TV18 and presented by AU Small Finance Bank. Founded in 2008 and formalized in 2013 by the Chartered Accountants of Eastern India, now settled in Mumbai, the society now boasts of 370 members, primarily chartered accountants.
Today we come together not just as finance professionals, but as a close-knit family thriving on the values of knowledge, ideas, joy, and support. Our journey from Eastern India to the bustling city of Mumbai has been a story of growth, collaboration, and celebrations. This year, the theme is Celebrating India Moment. So as you all know, India is a land of 1 billion people under the age of 35. And we are at the center stage, be it economy, sports, geopolitical, or the next factory of the world. We have truly arrived.
I think this is a great story which has started to unfold right now, but we have many more to come. Now, obviously, we have got a great team, managing team, led by Neeraj, who just spoke about. And I think that is also very, very important, that such a large, diverse group, you need somebody to take us through and navigate in a proper manner.
The Gitanjali Express network connects individuals with ties to Kolkata or Eastern India, fostering professional and social interactions globally. With the event theme Celebrating India Moment, it featured two panels with esteemed speakers. The first panel, moderated by Nisha Poddar of CNBC-TV18, discussed the untapped potential of Bharat. Here are the session's key highlights.
Great to be here amongst Kolkatans. I am myself from Calcutta and have been in Bombay for about 20 years. Now, today, the point of discussion that we have is untapped potential of Bharat. Now, this is a collective dream that along with our government, we all have seen. Now, looking at this particular scenario, we have the ingredients already. To begin the conversation, let me first invite into the discussion brand guru Jagdeep. How do you see brand Bharat?
Well, first of all, compliments to the organizers for calling it brand Bharat, which is actually the essence. And firstly, let me tell you how we have gone ahead of China. We have gone ahead in terms of population. That's a no-brainer. We've gone ahead in terms of growth. But I was always imagining that if we have the name Bharat in Olympics, when the opening ceremony goes, then B will before BC, so Bharat will be ahead of China. So we are going to be ahead of China in many ways, right? Let's come to the second thing in terms of the moment of Bharat. Well, if you actually look at it, the way I would describe the moment of Bharat is a 10-10-10 moment. Now, forgive my Desi style, but that's what we are talking about, Bharat. When I say 10-10-10, first 10 is, we have grown 7.6%, very good. My belief is, the moment has come where we will be continuously growing 10%. An aspiration for 5 trillion, but I believe what we should be looking at is 10 trillion. If you do not, आपकी सोच अगर बड़ी नहीं होगी, तो फिर हम थोड़ा करेंगे. So I would like to redefine the second 10 as 10 trillion.
But Amit, the maximum returns from the India growth story so far this year has been taken by the private equity industry. What is it that they are seeing from the outside about the growth potential in India?
You know, from a financial investor's perspective, if right now you talk to any investor, any corporate, any company board, everybody is talking about India. So India is at the center stage of all the discussions. When I go and travel abroad and I come back to the country, I can feel the energy, the vibe, the growth is buzzing in the country, which is very different from many other developed markets. I'll just give you some statistics from a private equity and a VC industry perspective. Overall, PE VC industry deploys about $1.5 to $2 trillion in a year. And 25% of that is typically allocated to Asia, so which is about $400 to $500 billion. India used to get, till a decade back, about 10% of the Asia share. 2 years back, that became 15%, and this year, it is more than 20%. So India's share of the private equity VC industry has more than doubled in the last 10 years, right? Any private equity company which is raising the fund right now is talking about pivoting their investment from China to India. So investment point of view, everybody is showcasing India as the main market. And I'm happy to say that for the last 2 years, India has been the best performing geography for Blackstone globally, month after month, year after year.
So Shiv Kumar, you know, we get from media, we get the knowledge from all across. I'm expecting a culmination of all the noise that is there and cutting through that noise. What is it that you see for 5-10 years of growth for India?
Right now, the advantages, whether from a government scheme, whether from an economy, whether from the rise of infrastructure, of the digital India, all this is absolutely conducive for India to leapfrog from a metrocentric growth to an inclusive Bharat growth.
That's right. So Bharat growth is what we are looking at because, you know, lifting off from where Shiv Kumar spoke about Atmanirbharta, supply chain, and you have a vantage point there. What is your view on this aspect of India?
The way I see some of the opportunity, what is happening, or the potential of what India has to offer, I clearly see 2 or 3 major trends. One is definitely what I call it is the talent pool, what we can offer to the world. And this is backed by a massive data, of course, what we have talked about. If you see, I mean, we will be the 20% of the world's workforce by 2030 mostly. We are talking about 900 million people who will be in the workforce. Imagine that 20% workforce into the contribution of the world economy, and our share of GDP today to the global economy is only 3.5%. And that tells you the runway, what you have, and what India can offer to the globe. The second thing, what we are seeing is, coming from the supply chain side, the potential on the manufacturing push. Purely because of backed by the shift in the global value chain or the manufacturing which is happening. Of course, there are multiple underlying reasons, geopolitical reasons, a lot of disruptions which are happening across the globe. And that is absolutely very critical for India in terms of how we tap those opportunities. Very clearly, if you see the data point, 70% of the global trade actually happens on the global value chain. India's share is less than 1.5%. And we are 20% of the global workforce. We are just contributing 1.5% of the global value chain. And our share of the GDP to the global GDP is 3.5%, which is data which clearly tells you it doesn't stack up.
Yes.
And since the shift is happening, and our share of the GVC is only 1.5%, this is an opportune moment for India to really capture that value of manufacturing shift which has to happen. And if you see our manufacturing share of the GDP is only 14%. And if you see China, 28%, it's just double. So there is a massive runway on manufacturing, and I think the government is doing everything possible what they need to do in order to push those manufacturing.
Where everything is getting automated, are we now up to speed with that kind of automation, and do we have the vocational skill sets? So how is the talent pool and the people of Bharat going to get the job creation?
India, if you look at average age of the population, is 29 years. We talk about US as 39 years, Japan as 49 years. So the vibrancy in the country the population is there. Now it's about how do we tap that opportunity. And India, basically, if you look at from a business point of view, there are 3 areas which are doing extremely well. One is domestic consumption, second is manufacturing exports, and third is services exports. Now, on services exports, which is the entire area of, let's say, tech talent, etc., what we see, India has grown leaps and bounds. So out of, let's say, $1 trillion of IT services spent globally, India is like $200 billion. So from a tech market perspective, India is very deeply penetrated market.
When we talk about Bharat and job creation, do you agree with me on the point that for the government, this will be the biggest opportunity and the biggest challenge?
A lot of people in the audience are from are CA. It's important that I'm sure all of you understand numbers. And I'm going to talk about numbers. And because the question Nisha asked, what is the role of government for the thrust of the growth of Bharat? In 2014, we had 229 kilometers of metro network, and 2023 we have 548 kilometers of metro network. International airports were 26 in 14. Today we have 30. Total number of airports, we had 74. Today we have 147. Railway stations, of course, 7,000 versus 7,400 now. National highways was 96,000. Today it's already 1,45,000. And it's going all the way up to 1,85,000, out of which 75,000 will be 4-lane highway. 50% cost savings in real estate rentals. Amit spoke about talent. 60% graduates in small cities in key areas, providing us the much needed competitive advantage. And 39% of the country's startup come from this emerging Bharat, as we call it. So that's over 7,000 startups are coming from this. So if you want to look any other story, any other thing, numbers to convincing, I think this numbers absolutely should convince you that where the next set of story is going to, next set of growth is going to come from. One is, of course, we all know about the Aadhaar card penetration. UPI, which we started in 2016, it has registered 11.24 billion transactions. UPI has changed the way we engage in commerce. And the most important thing is the Jan Dhan scheme.
AU Small Finance Bank presents Gitanjali Express Annual 2023, celebrating India moment.
Welcome back to the annual 2023 of Gitanjali Express, hosted by Gitanjali Express Members Welfare Society in partnership with CNBC-TV18 and presented by AU Small Finance Bank.
In the latter part of the evening, the event showcased an intriguing panel discussion titled The Young India Perspective. A dynamic group of panelists moderated by Nisha Poddar of CNBC-TV18 shared enthusiastic and passionate insights on the topic.
Gaurav, according to you, what is Young India and what is the perspective that you're getting from them at this point?
My perspective is twofold. One is the talent we hire, and we have a very young talent base we bring on board every year. And second is the entrepreneurs we work with. We have had the good fortune of working with entrepreneurs practically from 25 years of age to 75 years of age, some younger. I would say, to me, the definition of youth, I was actually looking up when I was invited for this panel. UN defines youth between the age of 15 and 24. I would define youth for this conversation somewhere between early 20s to early 30s. You know, I think people who have a long runway in front of them, people who can take advantage and have enough time to make mistakes and can compound over the next 30 to 40 years of their lives without blinking an eye, and can take a deep advantage. To me, a definition of Young India would be people in early part of their life and who can compound over the next 40 years.
So, Nitish, when you look at Young India, and you've also built a business, what is it that the young entrepreneurs right now seek from the government? Is the American dream really over? Are they comfortable with being in India and growing in India?
Today, I think the American dream is really getting replaced by the Indian dream, right? I think there's huge opportunity. Entrepreneurs recognize that, and they're daring to dream. how they can build in India and build for the world. So I think that's what I'm seeing. Just to answer your question also, what I think of what is Young India, right? I think Young India today is very aspirational, very ambitious, very gutsy. Small anecdote, my daughter's 6-year-old demanding an iPhone 15 Pro from me. That's Young India for you.
Anup, what do you have to say about the aspirations of Young India? Does our infrastructure, our government support, and the money that we have, the capital that we have, and the overall regulatory, scenario, does all that really support the kind of ambition that Young India has right now?
I think all of this needs to be looked into two different scenarios. One, there's clearly a demographic dividend that we have. Very young population, all aspiring, somebody wanting to buy an iPhone, bigger cars, bigger houses. So all of this is fantastic. But I think it's also equally important for the government and for all of us sitting out here to ensure that we channelize this energy in the right manner. How influenced versus how informed the young Indian is, I think is very, very crucial out here. And a lot of times what we see the young Indians is, to a large extent currently, the algorithms is deciding how they should be thinking about what the future course of action should be. But at the same time, I think the direction, both in terms of government policies, how you build infrastructure across the world, across India, how do you build better education facilities, I think is very, very important.
So Gaurav, coming to you, do you think this whole technological shift and digital revolution is one of the key reasons for young India to be so differentiated in their thinking compared to the older generation?
So, absolutely right. If you think about it, till 10 years ago, you couldn't order food off a delivery app, right? I think a large part of the systematic shift that has happened is towards instant gratification. And the youth today are effectively being born into it. So what we had, let's say, and when I say we, I'm associating myself to an older generation, though we had patience, right? That, okay, it takes time, you will take an X amount of years to achieve a Y stature. But today I would say that the youth needs that to happen now. They need delivery, they need the kind of space, they need the kind of I would say gratitude as well to be able to be delivered today. So which is the reason why I would say you see that shift happen. And all of this is happening because of the rapid innovation that has occurred over the last 10 years, whether it be by virtue of, let's say, internet speeds, whether it be by virtue of accessibility through smartphones. All of that has a very critical impact on the day-to-day life, and that is what eventually molds you into thinking and hence acting the way you do. So, yeah.
Dhaval, but I want to ask you, how important is our own cultural values with the kind of newness that the new generation sees right now? How important is to bring both of them together for our new generation to really leapfrog and be successful?
In general, if you actually ask anybody about this panel, I think all the people here would be called as tech founders, right? If you ask us inherently, we don't believe that it's like, we've not created any, it's not like as if we've invented the fire or the wheel, right? It's basic incremental innovation that all add up. If you actually think about it, a few years back, I don't think people looked upon, we are at a beautiful inflection point. And I think this just ties into why what we've done makes more sense today than maybe a few years back. I think a beautiful inflection point. A few years back, a few decades back, I think people just wanted a stable job. And it was what was valued because the necessities were different. The outcasts or the outliers were people who could not get a decent job, and you had a few people in the family who were like, yes, they started up, they had their own small dhanda which they used to run, right? I think the glorification of starting up is something that the country really needs. And I think that's what we are today.
But Gaurav, any big idea, something that, a big change that is required to make us future ready with this generation?
In my last 25 years of working, I've never seen a larger runway with the maximum amount of tailwind that exists today and with the least amount of hurdles and potholes. So as I see India over the next 10 years, I think it's such a massive opportunity To me, the idea is not one single idea. It's about actually how much do you dare to dream.
Dhaval, what is your idea that people should have to be like successful in the current generation?
When you're young, I don't think that the fear is just doesn't exist. And it's just amazing. So for example, when we started Farm Easy, I think it was a very simple concept. We said, hey, everybody delivers food at home. We have medicines lying at the store. We have people who need medicines. We'll just connect them and it's just over, right? We never knew that it will take us 7 years to just figure out how that actually happens. You will have the retailer just sleeping off at night. You will have the technology breaking down. You will have storage conditions not being met. You will have thousands of issues coming up. I think the only thing that helped us during this time is just keep learning and just never die.
So thank you, everybody. Thanks to all the panelists for a very engaging conversation, and thanks to the audience, which has been very interesting and very active. Thank you.
The event wrapped up with the Gitanjali Global Award for Excellence, recognizing achievers globally in the fields of sports, business, and medicine.
Aditya Group has been the truly Indian multinational group. We have a presence in 41 countries over last 5 odd decades, and we have almost 100 odd nationalities which is working for us. So it's been honored to receive this award on behalf of Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla.
These recognitions tell you that you perhaps have been doing some things in a right way, in a consistent way, because you believed in a cause. And then someone somewhere noticing this, and then they desire or they feel that they need to honor me. But it's actually not about me. This award or this recognition belongs to all the patients who come to Tata Memorial in their darkest hour of need. It belongs to each and every single employee of Tata Memorial Hospital and the Department of Atomic Energy, which is doing such yeoman service across the country. And then I'm the one who is just taking this recognition on behalf of this great institution.
मैं आप सभी से गुजारिश करता हूँ कि जो आने वाले हमारे देश का फ्यूचर है, जो आने वाले एथलीट्स हैं, यंगस्टर्स या कोई भी जो हमारे देश के बच्चे आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं अलग अलग फील्ड्स में, आप किसी ना किसी तरीके से उनको भी सपोर्ट करिए, उनकी हेल्प करिए ताकि हमारी कंट्री और ग्रो कर सके। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। बस यही कामना करता हूँ कि आप सभी खुश रहें, हेल्दी रहें। नमस्ते।
AU Small Finance Bank presents Gitanjali Express Annual 2023, celebrating India moment. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.